It's time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake.
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end.
And welcome along to PSGL Season 30. This is the F2 tier on the PlayStation platform, and we head to the home of British Motorsport in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. It was a great one in real life, and I expect we get to see a great one here in F2. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me in the commentary box, as per usual, it is, of course, Owen Wyatt. Owen, how are you doing?
Hello Jess, hello viewers, and yes, we're back once again after our season opener last week and looking forward to a good one here at Silverstone as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you missed the season opener last week, we were in Portugal and we saw Baraka took his first win of the season after some very unlucky moments last season as well. And Valentin also got his first points this season and in the whole PSGL actually by getting into third place as well. Santeri also had a good result as well. He got his first podium in PSGL F2 in P2 as well. So lots of unknowns doing quite well last week, but there were lots of unlucky moments from some drivers. Let's see what they could do this week, and you can't see it at the moment. But we are not going to have a usual qualifying session because it's chucking it down with rain.
Yes, this isn't the first time we've seen this in F2, is it?
No.
It's typical British weather. Typical of the time of year as well. It is actually raining outside my own house at the moment, so you can tell it's nice and realistic. And the drivers are going to have to deal with the conditions here. It started off full wet. That doesn't necessarily mean it will stay full wet, but it does mean you might see a lot more laps per stint for each driver because you'll tend to see improvements on the second, third, even fourth laps on these full wet tyres. This will be a different type of qualifying session to what you may be used to.
Yes, indeed, because obviously they only have a few sets of wets for the weekend, not just for qualifying as well. So you don't want to be going on one or two sets of wets because you could be using it for the race if it's a wet race, for example. But we obviously don't know what the weather's going to be like for the race, only in qualifying on what is presenting itself right now. So let's go on board with qualifying then as well. A full grid as per usual, but we got a few reserves here tonight because there's certain people that could not make it. So we've got Bolin tonight replacing Cohen in the McLaren. We've got Jack in again, but he's replacing Yannick in the Williams. And we got a new reserve in tonight, making his debut in PSGL. I apologize if I say your name wrong. Nicolo Soro. He's in the AlphaTauri replacing Pat for this week. And we already had one driver being disqualified from the session, and that is Azzy in, I believe is in the Haas. So he's not got his day to a good start, but pretty much everyone's on their outlaps now apart from Santeri. He's in the pits, and it's just a question of getting experience really in these wet conditions and see if the conditions improve. And I think due to everyone out on a lap now, I'm guessing it's probably going to stay like this for the whole session.
Yeah, these first few laps are going to be an adventure for these guys because the track will be changing with every corner that they drive, and their confidence on this track as well will be changing. And I would agree with you with the way the conditions are looking with everyone being out there at the minute. It would suggest it's going to stay like this. Sometimes you'd see some staying in the pits if it was going to get less heavy, but it does seem that this is what we're going to have to deal with the whole session. I think it's KJL's the first one out there on the lap, so he is heading through now just at the start of the middle sector in his McLaren, and we'll see how he gets on this week. He didn't finish last time out in Portugal, so looking to get himself into the points this week, and he very nearly had himself in the wall on the run up towards Cops Corner. Such a difficult track to do in the rain. It's so unpredictable, the traction zones. but it's keeping it on the track that counts that he's done that so far.
Yep, he has, and don't forget, cops, you can't take it flat out in the rain, you can in the dry, so I think a few people are being caught up by that. So he's past Chapel now and heading into this DRS straight towards Stowe as well, where it is, again, full power in the dry, almost 0 miles per hour, slightly slower in the wet, as I believe KJ has backed off a little bit on his lap. I believe he's going to set a lap time nonetheless, or is he going to go into the pits? No, he's going to set a lap time, but it's not going to be a fast one. So who's going to be the first one to actually set a lap apart from Elting? So it will be Louis with a 1:39.3, and then we've got Legend across the line with a 1:38.8. So he has set the benchmark, and last week's race winner Baraka, he sets the benchmark again, 1:37.8. So we are seeing different lap times due to the experience, as Baraka has had a bit of a moment in Abbey. Luckily he got the car saved just in time, because many people have done that before and had their days end up in a wall and retired. So luckily Baraka didn't get into that sort of scenario. We got Dino up to the line, and it's going to be a 1:38.5 for him. So expect the gaps to be less closer in the wet conditions, just so people can find their feet around this track. First used in Formula 1 back in 1950. The first ever Formula 1 race was held here as well, so a lot of drivers have had a lot of experience around here, and quite a few people, it's their home Grand Prix, so they wanted to deliver for the home fans tonight, I have to say. But Baraka fastest, and our F3 champion from last season was very unlucky towards the end. He had very good pace pretty much for most of the race last week up until that point. He's currently second fastest as well, and he's showing that the wet conditions are his friend at the moment, and he's not that far behind Baraka.
Yeah, very different looking order to last week. If you remember, Valentine was the runaway pole sitter. I think his second quality time was enough for pole, let alone his third. He was absolutely on it, but he's only down in P9 at the minute. And we're seeing who's next up, because we're now going to be seeing some of the second runs being finished. Legion has already made nearly 3/4 of a second on this lap, so you can see how you're evolving every single lap as you get more used to it. He's up to P2 now. Still 4/10 up Barakan, and it must be said, that moment for Abbey is so lucky he didn't end up completely wiping himself out. Bolin's then gone second fastest in the McLaren, so we'll see how many improvements come in. Baraka obviously not able to be one of those thanks to his accident.
Yeah, so he's not able to be on worn tyres as the track gets more grippy. It's in the wet conditions, so he'll have to come into the pits. As Kaziza's retired. So
he's done...
Oh, as a Blaze has binned it as well.
Yeah,
so
that's a very unfortunate spot, because I tell you what, it's such a distracting point when you see a car go off there, because you're right on the edge of your traction as you come out of Abbey towards Farm, and that is what happens just a little bit further on from where Baraka went. And you can see once you go, you are in trouble. And that's 2 high-placed drivers out of this session already.
Yeah, Kazizel obviously scoring quite well last week, and now he's not going to be scoring anything at the moment if it goes his way, but he's still got it all to do in the race. Luckily, I believe it will be a dry session, so he's got his chance to live up to his name in the dry sense of the word. And we don't know what the strategy is going to be for the dry conditions now everyone's on the wets, because they will have 3 choice of tyres. So the alternate strategy will probably be what most people go for. Most people would want to start on the mediums, because we saw in F2 on the PC side, people climb up from the soft tyres towards the back of the grid. Well, started on the mediums towards the back of the grid outside the top 10, then went on to the softs, and they were able to get some decent points out of it. So, and tyre deg is not too bad around here anyway, so expect that sort of situation. Louis came across the line in P12. Still a few more drivers across the line again. There's a lot more people who've been on the track since the very start. Elting up to the line, still stays P18, so he is struggling a little bit. His McLaren teammate stays in P3. We've got 2 AlphaTauris up on the lap next. Nope, it's not Devon. It's his other AlphaTauri compatriot of Nicola. He only stays in P14, so still no change of positions right now, but Baraka is out again on his second lap, but on newer tyres. That's not going to be good if the conditions are the same in the race, because you don't have many new tyres to use, really.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that we're not going to have to worry about that, isn't it? As Devin goes up to second place. So it reinstates where he was earlier on in the session. He dropped down a bit, but is showing his pace still. And Baraka now does run a bit off sequence, so he might have a little bit more trouble getting the pace back up. But his first time was good enough to not be challenged by anyone in the sort of 5-6 minutes since he said it. So that is a good sign for him. But I do worry, obviously, we always have to bring it up about setup. If it is a dry race, how much have you compromised your race for qualifying? Because it's a DRS train, this track. Most are. Perhaps if you do slightly sacrifice a race pace for a better qualifying, maybe it'll help you. But we'll see how that pans out in the race. But we'll see how Baraka does on the second lap and see if we can extend his gap.
I think this is a common theme we've seen in the first round, especially where we saw the pole sitter basically pretty much unchallenged for the whole session. If this is going to be the same as last week, I think Baraka could be unchallenged. As I was saying that, I've just jinxed myself. There as Bolin comes across the line in P1 with a 1:37.4. 4 tenths quicker than Baraka. So is that a sign that people are finding their feet on these wet tyres? I think so. So we're starting to see more people come across the line. Andrea beats Baraka's time as well with a 1:37.7. So there's lower fuel modes at this moment in time. So that might be the answer to that. As who's next? Being one of the Red Bulls. It's not CC Brain because he's going into the pits. Devon is into the pits as well. Kryptonite does not improve on his position. He stays in P14. And pretty much most people are going into the pits for a fresh set on the wet tyres. We'll keep an eye on Baraka actually as he's past Cop's Corner. We'll see if he improves compared to Bolan and Andrea, but he is going to find it hard to warm his tyres up compared to everybody else. So maybe in about a few minutes we'll see him get pole position. But at the moment he'll find his feet a little bit as well. Tom is in P4, a good qualifying session for him. And the field is getting a little bit more closer now as they're finding their feet a little bit.
Yeah, they are getting that bit closer. Still the gap at P1, Bolan from Andrea, but now Baraka is 2 tenths up on his lap so far. He looks quite smooth on it, and I'm surprised that even though he might have been a bit more tentative at turn 1, he's still finding the improvements as he goes fastest again. I'm guessing there'll be more time to gain in turn 1 because he would have taken that last one, like I say, just a little bit less aggressive, just to make sure he didn't stick it in the wall again. But now he can really get himself going because he's got through turn 1. He can now go and attack the rest of the lap. He knows what he's doing. He's got a little bit less fuel now on board and should theoretically be about to go even faster on this next lap.
Yeah, we should do as well, but I am noticing that he's been saving a bit of ERS as well, but you lose, well, you pretty much lose less ERS in the wet anyway, so with only not that long to go until the end of the session, maybe he'll come in again, so yeah, he'll still probably be out of sequence. Last week's pole sitter, Valentine, he's not doing too bad. P3 right now, we'll follow him on the lap actually, as he's gone on 5. Actually, no, let's not follow him on the lap because he's on low fuel at the moment as well, so he'll probably dive it into the pits very, very soon. Alexis, is he on the lap? Yes, he is. He has changed his gamer tag from last week. I need to try and actually remember what his gamer tag was. I think it was Las Vegas 16 originally, and now he's changed it to Alexis. So just to let you know, just in case you guys don't get confused. So he heads towards Verde and Club now. I think he's one of the only drivers that is on a competitive lap time at the moment. But I don't think he's going to improve on position. It is a 1:38.0. He does improve on position. That is a P7. So he's gained 10 positions of 1 lap alone. That just shows there's a little margin for error there as well. And that's his next lap done. Valentine, yep, so he's slowing down. So his teammate Valentine will be going into the pits.
Yeah, that's running out of fuel, I suspect, so just wants to make sure it doesn't happen. He did 5 laps on that set of wets, so he hasn't been in the pits yet in this session, so he'll bolt a new set on, hopefully take what he's learnt from the track so far and maybe go for pole. But who's actually on a lap then at the minute and not sort of slowing down, because a lot of people are still looking to try and find some space. Louis is on 1, so we'll see how he gets on. Ricky's just come through the final corner for Alpine. And we'll see if there's any improvement here. Currently down in P18 and moves up to 17th. So little improvements, but still gaining more confidence in the track with every lap. So still plenty of opportunity for improvement. Louis would be probably next up then. Yes, he would, because that Red Bull crossing line is on a night lap, and he's finding minuscule improvements as well, Louis. It's all really going to be about that sort of last set of runs, though. Everything, like I say, is just for experience. The conditions haven't changed, so theoretically you should be okay to just improve throughout the session, and obviously with less fuel you should go quicker, but it's hard to predict what sort of traffic you'll come up against as well, because there might be people who abandon one lap and go for another one and end up getting in your way, but we'll see how it all pans out. Louis gone at P8, so a bigger improvement in the final sector. And we'll see how, again, that continues to develop. We're into the last 3.5 minutes, and a lot of people, let's say, they're out a little bit early because your best times don't tend to come on your first lap on these tyres.
It's not like being on the soft tyres where going out pretty much late is easier. Going out earlier is easier as well. There's a lot of snap of oversteer for most of these drivers here today, so they are struggling a little bit as well. So I believe Kryptonite is going into the pits, and we've just seen CC Brain invalidate through Cop's corner, so not good for him. So he will have to go out again. Kryptonite is going to start his first lap on these fresh set of tyres. KJ has invalidated as well. I believe Boland's about to start his lap too, as we're seeing more drivers improve with every lap and get more confident. Ricky, as he's trying to avoid the wall, he just about avoids the barrier. But I don't think he's going to have enough time to go into the pits again.
Well,
I don't know. It's going to be quite... But I don't know how he saved that. That was good car control from the Alpine.
He might just have got away with no damages. It's hard to tell from this sort of angle. It'll tell if he pits, but he has got time to get round and start another lap if he's got no damage. And it must be said, I'm surprised that's the first one we've seen do that, because a lot of people I've noticed in this session, and it's probably not massively surprising, but they tend to sort of floor it out of the last corner just to try and get to the line a little bit quicker, even though you'd think it's a bad idea. I think a lot of them just do it because they think, oh, the line's right there, if I lose it, well, at least I've got more speed when I do. And I think that's their method of doing it. You'll always see the biggest snaps there just because of that. But, well, we'll see if he can get away with it. Like I say, he's down 17, so plenty of time to be gained. As Santori for Alfa Romeo goes just quicker than Baraka, who is on a lap. Boland's also on a lap in third place, but down currently. But we've seen, for the likes of Louis, you can find a lot of time in the third sector, but he won't. He has backed off. Others out there on laps are crossing the line, but I'm not sure we've got massive improvements on any of them so far. Next one up is a McLaren of Boland, like it says, but he will be restarting a lap because he backed off right before the last corner. Tom in the remaining Aston Martin improves but does stay in P6, so nothing massive. Devon's also improving, but if it keeps at this rate, it won't be up position. Look how he snaps through that last corner as he tries to get on the throttle desperately. Not an improvement in position, but again, is an improvement on the time. More cars coming through, and I say they're coming thick and fast here at the minute. Ricky will do another lap, so he was seemingly able to get away with that moment, which is good news for him. And then Baraka. Let's see how he gets on. He's actually backed off again, so he wasn't improving by enough to go for pole. So he's going to, again, just get himself some space and go for it again. We're in the last sort of 30 seconds of qualifying now, so these will be everyone's last attempts pretty much. As Valentine as well. He's going to get there in time and have another chance. Only a quarter of a second off P1. Our pole sitter last week is still in the running. And we've got Dino down and invalid. Eltink, I think he's probably been down as well. A lot of invalidations out there, and these guys are going to struggle to get to the line, son, if they're having to wait in queues at that final chicane. They've got to be really careful there. The likes of Dino, or the likes of Nicolo, sorry, who's just invalidated, and well, you can see his rage there because he's not going to make it now, and so he's blown it. He will start P19 then, as he crosses the line backwards. That's sort of the risk you take though when you're going for P1, as we see Jax go up into P4, and we're going to see Kryptonite. He stays in P17. We've got Bolin. How's he doing? It's P1 for now, but the other main contenders are absolutely still out there. Devon's out there again. He's locked up a little bit into the last chicane though, taking a compromised line. It's now going to affect his traction as well. I'm not sure he'll improve massively there, and indeed he doesn't, so he'll start P9 at best. Coming up next, who have we got? We've got Ricky then. He is up then this time, and he knows what not to do at the final corner this time, and you can see him, he's getting through okay. Will he improve his position? Yes, he will. He's up into P14. Next, we've got Alexis. Look at the back end sliding. That could cost him as he goes only P11. I'm sure he'll have lost a tenth or two there. Baraka, he's up by 0.2 of a second.
Wow.
He's back into P1. Now, let's see who's up next. CC Brain all over the place. He's gone 7th. Valentine, he's down and invalid. So no improvement for him. Louis coming through. He's always off the track, but he's just about kept it valid. Lucky for him. Dino's improving. Let's see if he can get himself into the top 10. He does indeed. P8. Apparently a petrol final sector as well as Eltink crashes across the line. Loses 0.3 in that. He stays P14. And it leaves the only person able to take this pole position on a slow lap because Legend is nowhere near. And that means that Baraka, the race winner from last time out, is kicking off his British Grand Prix from pole position.
He's having the momentum from last week, isn't he? He started off strong to win the race. He didn't even need to get pole position last week to win the race. And he absolutely capitalised on Valentine's penalty that he got. Valentine would have won the race if he didn't have a penalty. But Baraka just took advantage from the whole way through. But now he has a chance to see what he could do from pole position. And he rarely converts his pole to a win anyway. So we'll have to wait and see. And another good result from Santieri as well. P3. But I'm sure he wanted higher than that. But he will take it for his first full season of F2. So let's look at your results then. Baraka from Bolin, from Santieri, from Jax as well. Good result from him. Legend Valentine, last week's pole sitter, down in P6. He will need a lot to recover from this week. Then we got CC Brain, Dino, Andrea, then Louis. And then outside the top 10 will be Tom, Devon, Alexis, Eltic, Ricky, Cadiddle, Ablaze, Kryptonite, Nicolasora, and Azzy. And I believe there was a few other drivers that did not set a representative time. And, well, they did set a time, but they crashed out. So they weren't able to set times towards the end of the session. Imagine what they could have been if they... Well, basically, imagine what they could have been if they did set their lap times on those tyres. So, dry session then for the British Grand Prix. And people outside the top 10, they're not going to have the advantage of free choice of tyres. So that means everybody will be on free choice of tyres for this session. So will they go mediums? Will they go softs? Will they go hards? I think we could see everybody go for the medium compounder tyres, as we've seen in a few tiers for people who had that similar situation. But we don't know what they will go for. Maybe some brave soul will go on the softs early on as well. But if I was them, if I had the free choice, I would definitely start on the mediums because tyre deg, pretty good around it. You could do medium to soft quite easy.
Yeah, it's one of the best on the game, this, for the sort of tyre deg. You can really do whatever you want. So you should definitely be going mediums at the start here because it gives you so much flexibility for when you want to make your stop. I mean, it should be a no-brainer, but there's always someone, isn't there? And the whole field gets a free choice, so we'll see. Who perhaps wants an advantage into turn 1? Bolin, perhaps, who's on the sauce, will try and take Baraka and then do a strategy from there. But we do have a bit of an even split of the tyres. We've got, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of the 20 drivers then are on the softs. Only 4 of which are in the top 10 and then the other 4 outside. So it's a bit of an even split. Should give some exciting racing at the start. And it should mean that Baraka and Santori, the two who were P1 and 2 last week, might find themselves under that little bit of pressure at the start of the race. But like I say, on those mediums, you've got so much more flexibility on your strategy. But we'll see how it all pans out. An accident at a convenient time for the soft runners could make their race, but we'll see.
Yeah, because we have seen in the lower tiers as well, and also on the PC side as well, safety cars could make or break your race, and if you're on the right tyre at the right time, that could pretty much put you back in contention. So maybe that's why the likes of Bowden, Jax, CC Brain and Dino probably gone for the softs. They want to probably think that a safety car is going to come in nice and early. Or maybe they just want to get past as many people as they can off the start as well. So we're looking at the pace advantage compared to the softs and the mediums. It's not by much. It's only by 0.5 per second. So really it's going to be down to the setup as well, because most people will be running dry setups hopefully, and it's going to be down to qualifying position as well. There's so many places though you can overtake around this circuit. Heading towards Stowe is the main one as well, heading towards the Wellington Straight into Brooklands and Luffield. You could try and go for a move into Carts, but I wouldn't suggest you go for a move there. And obviously through Club and Vale as well, we've seen people go for a move there into the final corner. So a lot of more overtaking opportunities that we saw than Portugal, but people were able to make it work last week, especially with the battle in the midfield. So we could see the same again today. We're just waiting for the final few drivers to make their way on to the grid. A few drivers to keep an eye on, because he's out of position. So is Blaze. Kryptonite, who scored points last week, he's out of position. So is Tom as well. They need to get some points on the board after their DNFs last week. But let's get ready for the 5 red lights then.
So I see then, didn't get a chance to qualify, had connection issues at the start of the quality session, got him disqualified, so he might have an interesting race, but he's on the grid now. And when those 5 lights go off, we'll be on that very exciting charge towards turn 1. They're all on. We've got Bowling on the sauce on the left and Baraka on the right as we get underway here in Silvers. And who gets the best star? Who's going to have the run? It's Baraka in towards turn 1, so good stuff from him. But let's see what the slipstream's like as he heads up towards the first proper braking zone. He defends to the inside line. Bowling with the extra grip of his soft tyres. It's going right round the outside. We've got an accident for Sam Terry. Second in the championship, but into the lead of the race goes Bowling. But a nice switchback from Baraka will keep him in the running as they head down the back straight. And I think Bowling should be able to hold the lead from there, because he'll have that just general grip on the tyres, which is what he needs in the early stages. The reserve, remember, taking the lead of the race. Jax as well a reserve. I wonder what that's going to mean for their ambitions today. Will they just go for it? They might not have many races this season. This could be a big chance for them. But bad stuff from Santori, who's at the back. I don't know if he got tagged, but in terms of the championship, not the momentum that he was looking for. And that's a real shame to see him down there. But Bowling does lead the race.
Yes, Biden, that was superb there as well. We see many drivers start from P2 on the grid around here and have superb starts. So it may be a common reoccurrence like we saw last season as well. Yeah, Tanteri's scoring 12 points last week as well. And his nearest rival, Valentine, is in 4th place on the road. And he's currently to defend the championship. So he could gain quite a lot from obviously Santieri's misdemeanors, as L6 got past Louis there into Stowe. Just like we said, an overtaking opportunity up into P9. We're seeing more cars making moves as the Blaze has dropped by a few positions. Luckily, Santieri did not get any damage when he spun through Abbey, and we saw a spun from a Blaze actually into the final corner. I'm not sure he's got damage, but I have to keep an eye on that, because Izzle must have got damage, because he goes into the pit. Another heavy hitter having trouble again for the 2nd race in a row, down in last place. So surely he will have to either go on to the hards to pretty much do a 1-stop. Yes, he is going for the hards. Technically, the hards last 25 laps. They could get to the end of the race, so technically there's no safety cars. He doesn't need to pit again, but those hards are an absolutely nightmare to drive around it. I wouldn't advise doing it, but if you do not want to pit again, that is probably the one and only choice that you got so far. But the rest of the field, apart from the bottom 2, they're pretty much still closely tight-knit, so this could be an interesting couple of laps here.
So, out of the 8 drivers who started on the softs, 6 of them are sitting in the top 9 right now, so you could see the advantage they had. I mean, you saw it for yourself in the fight for the lead. But even further down, those who aren't quite in the top 10, Asi from P20 made 8 spots. Not the only time we've seen people from right at the back making great starts, so maybe it's a good advantage on those softs. But like I say, how long is it going to last? Because the DRS change are massive, and it could cause problems later on in the stint, because if you get done by 1, you'll get 2, 3, 4, you'll be all over the place. As Eltink fights side by side with CC Brins at the Vale chicane. Bit of contact, wheel binding on the way in and on the way out, and look at that, no room left for the club chicane as he's really being forced off the track. Eltink, will he keep the fight going as he heads towards the first braking zone? DRS is now enabled, and the detection point is just before he heads to the corner. So Eltink will go up the inside. He will get the DRS on him, but that's a big hit on the side. Is that going to cause perhaps even light yellow damage and another tap as well? Is CC Bray going to get DRS? He was very tight on the gap. He does just about get it. Eltink does as well, as Valentin gets himself past Jax. That's interesting on the mediums, getting through early on the soft tires that are already starting to go off. CC Bray and Eltink, their fight continues. They'll keep it going, but they're certainly falling away from that top 7 at the moment. But Valentine is making the early moves. Can he get himself up towards Baraka now? He's just about still in the DRS range of the race leader. But it has to be said, those two have a lot less ERS than Valentine. And that's a decent sign for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, it is as well. Don't forget, he did have the pace in Portugal last week as well. He was able to translate his quali pace into his race pace, but his quali pace didn't quite work this week for him, but he's able to have a better race pace so far, and we're seeing 2 drivers behind him go for moves. Valentine will definitely love that, so we can increase the gap between these two. We got Jax and Dino, the Williams and the Alpine, going side by side through the Airland Club, similar to what we saw CC Brain and Eltink do a few laps ago, as we head towards the start-finish straight, now called the Hamilton straight, named by the famous Sir Lewis Hamilton, heading towards Abbey now. Still not close enough, but Dino 44% ERS, Jax on 59, so he should have an advantage, but we're seeing Dino trying to defend from Jax. Jax stays in P4 for now. We've got Legend on the back of this as well, just about on those medium tyres. Don't forget, Jax and Dino is on the softs. Dino's going to go and launch for a move onto the Wellington straight into Brooklands, but he couldn't quite get past him for now, and he has to resort to being in this train with Valentine and Jax as well. But Jax has found a little bit more time to Valentine again, so maybe he can launch his method on attack on the softs very, very soon. Not through Cops though, but in a 2 after Chapel maybe, heading towards Stowe. So that is a very interesting fight developing as well. And CC Brain gap towards Elting has increased ever so slightly. So we're probably not going to see a move for them yet, but we'll see if CC Brain catches up. But at the moment, Bolan still leads from Baraka, 0.8 of a second.
Here comes Dino then. He's using a lot of his ERS here to try and get pie on Jax, but the problem is he's got the DRS on Valentine. It's going to be a really difficult one to do for Dino, and you can see him all over the back out of every corner trying to make it work, but Valentine's going to be giving such a fantastic tow to Jax that it's just going to be impossible unless Jax makes some sort of mistake or Dino surprises him in the braking zone. As we get to the start of lap 5, Tom and Legend might get involved in this as well if those two end up side by side at any point, but it's not going to happen until at least the first DRS under the lap. And we'll see Legend on mediums maybe try and make a bit of progress through these soft runners, and it will be a good indication to see how they're handling. Bolan seems doing quite well with the softs, so his signs are decent. 0.8 the gap to Baraka, seems still quicker through the corners. I was looking at him through Maggott and Beckett, and Bolan was certainly still extending the gap, so that's a good sign for the softs. But we'll see how Valentine handles as we see side by side Tom and Legend, and Tom on his softs gets through into 6th position.
That was a nice move there through Luffield and into Woodcote. Nicely timed as well from the Aston Martin driver. Don't forget he retired last week from the Portuguese Grand Prix and is looking to really get some points here today in order to help him in the championship. Another driver that got promoted from F3 to F2, finished runner-up to Devon last season. Surely he was one of the favourites to win that title, but Devon came out on top. But out of most of the F3 drivers, he's the one that's near on top. CC Brain and Elting are having a fight again through Stoke, but this time CC Brain still comes out on top in P8. And not really that surprising, because CC Brain has more ERS compared to Elting. Elting goes into the pits, so is Azzy as well in the hats. I wonder, early undercut maybe? Those mediums can last a long time, so not really that surprised. So they're going to be going on to them, which should last until the end of the race. Will that trigger the likes of Bolan and Jax to come in soon, or will they probably stay out? I don't know, but we're seeing the first of the soft runners pitting for their one and only stops of this race.
An element of that could even be ERS as well, because I noticed that Elting had very low ERS. That's why CC Brain got back by him. So that's a good chance to even save your ERS. So it's a double sort of victory that if it works for them, because not only do they get the undercut, but they also have more ERS to attack when they're fighting for position later on. So we'll see how that all pans out. Baraka was just a second behind. He must have just still been in the DRS range, but he doesn't look to have the pace on Bolan, although Bolan has completely run his DRS dry, so theoretically Baraka will catch quite rapidly on this DRS zone, because there'll be absolutely nothing for Bolan to do about it, and so that will be what's stopping him from keeping that gap over a second. Dino, once again, is getting close to Jax, but once again Jax is enjoying the tow from Valentine's Ferrari. And eventually there's going to be a move in there, isn't there? But I don't think Jax wants to pass Valentine, frankly, because if he gets by Valentine and Dino follows through, well, Dino's going to have to fly by Jax as well. So he's managing this in a way where he has to actually keep both cars in check and hope that those behind him don't get into any fights as well. So it's an interesting sort of situation for Jax to be in, because he's got the ERS to get the job done as well. He's not in a bad position, but he's just going to manage it properly, and at the minute he is doing that, because Dino, as much as he tries, there's nothing really he can do about this.
No, and I think Jax wants to be in the DRS of Valentine as well, because if Dino gets past him as well, there is a danger that obviously Tom and Legend can get past him as well, which are on mediums, which could last a little bit longer than the softs as well. So I think Jax, cheeky tactic there, but it does work around Silverstone as well, and as long as he stays within Valentine's DRS range, it should be fine. But CC Brain, it's not long before he is in the train as well, so these drivers got to get a move on there before he starts to catch up and try and get some moves done before the pit stops. The train is growing by the second here in Silverstone, but the ERS the ERS are starting to go down by the minute for CC Brain. Legend's ERS is absolutely fine, 56%. Tom's is alright, Dino's alright, Jack's alright as well. So that midfield battle, they're starting to manage their ERS a little bit more and matching it to what Valentine was just now. Valentine is managing it the most out of everybody, 52%. We saw another people in the pits, that's Bolan. Bolan's in the pits, and I think I saw someone else come in as well. That is Dino. So Dino and CC Brain and Bolan are race leader, going for the undercut, it seems.
Yeah, so that's Dino really pulling the trigger on that fight with Jax and Valentine. I guess he's also sort of worked out what might happen, and so he's going to get himself past the tuners by an undercut. Bolan should be okay. He'll end up in some free air, I think, because the Blaze should get by them and then be a couple of seconds clear. So it's going to be the free air for Bolan that he's got to use to make sure that he can just stay ahead of Baraka. I don't think Baraka's going to overcut him, so the undercut should work out relatively okay. We have seen before, though, that warm-up can be a problem on the first lap out of the pits. It's when you're on that second or third lap that you really get the benefits of it, but you might see momentary changes of position that get then reversed. But we'll see how it works. Bolan, like I say, in plenty of free air and can do sort of whatever he needs to now. And CC Brain still ahead of Eltink as they fight away again. CC Brain, who does have a penalty. Did he get that for speeding, or has he been tracked? Yeah, speeding. So that's going to affect that battle a little bit. And that's going to be a race-long battle, though, so they've been superb so far in this race. And it'll get to continue as well for a little bit longer. Now, I'm seeing that Jax is still not looking at passing Valentine, even though Valentine's getting ever a little bit closer to Baraka. Because the problem that I guess he's going to pit, he doesn't want to worry about DRS trains, but he'll pit. Tom stays out. My point is that if Valentine can get himself to DRS of Baraka, then that means Tom definitely will be getting past, because there's just no way it's going to work. And I guess maybe Jax is more worried about Dino anyway, but Tom maybe should have pitted as well. But we'll see. We'll see how that all works out, as Jax hopefully has a clean stop. And Eltink and CC Brain do swap places again, so that's Eltink back in front. And using all that ERS, so he's now got none of that left, so CC Brain's probably going to go back past him again after that. But this will give us a good indication of how the undercut works then. So Dino was behind Jax, and will he now be ahead of him? They're going to be side by side. This will give Jax the DRS, and well, he's got a 100% tank of ERS. And so I imagine Jax might be able to get straight back past here, but Dino, is he going to use his ERS? No, actually none of them are going to use their ERS. Okay, so they're both calling each other's bluff there. Maybe they'll wait until the back straight to really go for it. Meanwhile, there's a few battles nearly happening through cops. There's a lot of midfield drivers getting very close, and the sort of fight from Devon down toward Nicolo. And they're sort of in their own sort of fight now, because you've got the top four and those that have undercut there, and then there's that other fight that are sort of just doing their own thing. They're not quite able to get close enough as Tom finally does pit. And Valentine is all over Baraka now. So is he going to go for the lead? Remember, he was able to get past drivers on the softs, pure pace. So theoretically, this could be a very good chance for Valentine to take what will end up being the lead of the race. And if he can end up in a good spot with Bolan after his pit stops, then he'll surely blast past him as well. But let's see if Valentine can get this one and done, because at the rate of this pace, he'll have Legend on the back of him in a second, so I think he sort of has to go for the move, doesn't he? Here he goes, on Baraka. Valentine effortlessly pulls into the lead of this race. And while Bolin probably will come out ahead of these two after his undercut, surely on sauce at the end of the race, Valentine's becoming the favourite for this race, as long as, unlike last week, he doesn't get any penalties.
Yeah, that's the thing we always tell him week after week, do not get any penalties, and he usually does it, he usually gets penalties, so Valentine hopefully keeps it clean, and there's many places you can get penalties, through Cops as well, where we saw quite a few people do it as well, and just going wide towards Stoke and get penalties as well, but it's a lot less harder to get penalties around here, as alluded to, because only 3 people have got penalties thus far, so we will see what Valentine could do up front, or maybe Baraka could challenge once again up until around about lap 16, 17 when they all go on to the softs again. To be fair, this is actually some pretty good racing from everybody today. Apart from the lap 1 shenanigans, this has been some clean racing from everyone as well. So good job to everybody so far, and hopefully they can keep it that way at the moment, as Santieri has recovered a little bit as well. He's not the last of the medium runners right now. He's currently sitting in 8th on track. Don't forget, he started 2nd or 3rd in the race and he dropped down to last place, but he is sort of in this fight now with the likes of Andrea, Ricky, Louis and potentially Devon as well, heading towards the Wellington Straight. And I wonder if anyone will trigger the undercut earlier as well, but they have to wait pretty much about 6 laps to do so. The pit lane lost time around here is one of the longest time on the calendar. Well, the second actually. The first amount of time is Singapore as well. As we're seeing Santieri almost get past Andrea there into Brooklands, but couldn't quite do it right now. We'll keep an eye on Baraka again as he closes up a little bit to Valentine again. But Valentine's just doing so well on pace at the minute as well. And he's doing so much better on ERS as well compared to Baraka. I think that's where he's gained that advantage right now. But I think Baraka's gained more time through that complex of corners. No, he hasn't. I think Valentine's gained more time actually, as I said that. So I don't think Baraka's going to be close enough on this lap unless he can just go for a miraculous moving to Stowe. No, Valentine remains the god at the moment. He stays P1 for now. And we're seeing a move 4 heading into Stowe actually between Santieri and Andrea almost. Again, they couldn't quite do it. And again, not close enough. The DRS train in the dirty air is just not helping some drivers right now. They just can't seem to get past, or they do not want to get past to involve any incidents. Alexis is another driver that adds to the penalty board. That's 4 drivers with a penalty, actually 3 drivers with track limit penalties, 1 with a speeding in the pit lane penalty. That's CC Brain, I believe. But we're starting to see more cars heading into this DRS train.
There he
We're seeing
goes.
Santieri finally go for the move in towards this next
Oh, that's
straight.
a spin nearly. Ricky nearly went down. That's going to help Andrea and Santori. And you know what? This fight's been about to boil over for 3 or 4 laps now. It's going to surely have to happen now. They're all hitting each other. Here comes Ricky. Gets blocked on the way in. So no moves end up happening. We can see a sideways Santori trying to get through on Andrea. And it must be so frustrating for him because he knows he's quicker than these guys and he knows he needs to get by. Devon's 6.4 seconds off that leading trio, and Santori's not even anywhere near close to him. I wonder if he'll be the one to try and promote this undercut, because like I say, the tyres are a lot more flexible here. You can pit a lot earlier than you might expect here. And I think Santori, right now, he's doing everything he can to recover what he lost at the start of the race, and nothing is working. So perhaps he will have to go to pit stop route, but surely a move has to happen soon. You can see him using his ERS and his DRS, but it's not doing anything. So he, unless he goes for some sort of hero move into Vale, it's going to be another lap of just sitting behind and not being able to do anything for Santori. Look, he looks on the inside. Will he get it done? No, no way through. And it's going to be, yeah, further frustration then for Santori, because there's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do in this situation by the looks of it.
No, it doesn't look like it. And the earliest you can pit is the end of this lap. So I wonder if Santieri wants to go for the early undercut to go onto those soft tyres and make sure he's on the faster tyre for longer. But those tyres are going to be cooked towards the end of the race. But maybe the end of lap 14 or 15 will be better for him. I don't know. But he's the one in a sandwich. Andrea, I think, will be thinking the same as well, because he's got dirty air from in front and behind as well, which is not helping him in one bit. Pretty much everyone in this train should think about pitting, but who will be the one to blink first? Because obviously the top 11 haven't made their pit stops yet, but they will be on the fresher tyre as well. We were going to say about the position changes, but there's no point until everybody has made their final starts. Valentine still holds on to P1, and Valentine's looking a bit more comfortable on traction in Maggots, Beckett and Chapel, which I have to say is one of my favourite corners on the circuit to watch these guys go through at high speed. 70% can be taken at full throttle, just like Monza. Only a few braking zones around this circuit, and nobody is thinking about pitting early in terms of the front lot at the moment. Will the likes of Santieri do what I was thinking and pit early? Nope, they're not pitting early. They're probably wanting to be on the fresher rubber, but making sure they don't get into puncture territory. So I think Santieri's going to be in a lot of trouble, but he can't leave it too long to not make a move, can he? But again, it's just a question of who blinks first. Louis gets another penalty on the board, and that's not going to help his cause for some points as well. But I literally don't know who's going to be winning this race and who's going to be on the right strategy. We don't know who's going to get points either. Pretty much everyone in this train has DRS, so I think Santieri's just going to be stuck behind for a little bit longer.
It's worth pointing out on the lap times, by the way, as we see Santieri again having a look at Andrea, but still not quite finding a way through. But in the sort of undercutting fight that Boland's trying to put on against Valentine as it is now, Valentine in the last couple of laps has started to go just that little bit quicker than Boland is. So perhaps the little early gains that Boland might have made at the start of this undercut might not last. And I think Valentine is the faster driver now, which bodes very well for him and the rest of that top three. So the top three that you're watching right now might well be the fight for the lead at the end of this thing. And it will be down to these three who blinks first on the tyres. As you say, they can really pit at any point now. So who goes first? Legend, he's a little bit further back, but he's not going to blink first either. Anyone in this second train going to do it?
Surely someone's got to think about it.
Andrea
thinks about it. He
and
comes
Kryptonite. There we go. We got the first two then, finally in the pits. And this should be interesting as we get a yellow flag for a Blaze who's gone for a spin. And he's reset the track there. Hopefully he doesn't end up getting in people's way because he has not... Oh, yeah. Might have been a slight distraction to Jax, but...
could be a steward's penalty from the Mercedes driver.
As Tom gets himself up ahead of Dino now. And Kryptonite then. He will get out just behind Andrea. And what has Andrea done? Hold on a minute.
Andrea's gone for another set of mediums. He's not meant to do that.
He's not meant to do that, no. He's done the wrong strategy.
The rule is you're meant to be on at least one different set of tyres in dry conditions. So Andrea has to pit again.
What a shame. What a shame
he
that
has
is.
to pit again. He's no longer in this train anymore. And Nicola's out. This could be a saving grace for safety car.
That's going to save Andrea slightly because he gets to pit. But Kryptonite, what a shame. He's been done by this as well. But
Kryptonite and the Blaze, who both pitted before the safety car.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what then, that is obviously going to help the guys at the front who'll all pit now. And it gets Devin back into play, which is why I'm quite excited about it. But it does mean Boland's sitting down there. Will he pit as well? Do you reckon we're going to see the whole field in the pits for someone?
They've got to. They're about 30 seconds behind the leader. Yeah, I'm looking at the leader's gap. So.
Especially after qualifying, they're all going to have plenty of new sets. So I'm expecting to see every single car in the field, apart from maybe Kryptonite because he's already on them, pit for new softs. It's the only sensible thing to do here.
Boland's
and indeed, Boland is in.
Well,
Jax as well,
they've got
Tom stays. Okay. But look what he's not going to be able to do here, because I know the pit lane's quite slow, but will he even gain that many spots? He might get himself up into the sort of 5th place, or maybe even 4th place, because he now loses the delta, does he? He doesn't lose it, but he will... Okay, he'll go up to 4th. But everyone behind's going to be on fresh softs. Dino as well has done this, so perhaps those two will end up maybe helping each other out, if they can. But yeah, the rest of the field, apart from, let's say, Kryptonite, because he was already on them, the rest of them who have pitted, they're all going to be on the fresh set of softs. It's going to be a very exciting end to this race then, hopefully.
Andrea's on the right tyres now.
Yeah. Andrea, do you know what, actually, for him, he made the mistake, but he picked a pretty good time to make the mistake because in the end he didn't really lose anything for it, did he? So yeah, could have been a lot worse. That at least he's back into the train. I know he has lost out, but it could have been a lot worse that because he could have been not on the train at all.
Yeah.
As Blaze has actually left the session. Hopefully he can get back in before we restart.
Not good for him. And I think Andrea can thank the AlphaTauri driver who's DNF for that one, for saving his race. So if there was no safety car, definitely he would have been towards the back of the grid and almost pretty much being lapped as well. So we'll run for your order then, because they're all in safety car conditions and this is where they're most likely to be. So Valentin is your race leader, been your race leader for quite a bit since obviously most of the soft runners pitted for the mediums, but now they're on to fresh set of softs once again. Let me just get position changes as well. He's up 5 places. Baraka started on pole, is now in second. Legend gained 2 places, now in third. Tom gained 7 places, he's in fourth. So he's had a miraculous recovery, but again he's on mediums though. Same with Dino, who's gained 3 places. So Devon's going to gain quite a lot. He's gained 6 places, so that's good. We're seeing, I think, we've seen a Ferrari pitting. It might just be my imagination.
Alexis is in.
Alexis
As
is in.
is Blaze's AI, which is a bit odd.
That is odd.
Yeah, that is odd. I wonder why his AI is doing that. Because let's say if he can get back into the race. Oh, it's going on to mediums as well.
Oh no.
That's annoying.
That is cruel. That is very, very cruel. And I think Blaze is probably going to reconnect and be like, what's going on? So I think Blaze's race is over. And
not only is he last, he's on the wrong tyres and last.
Yes, well, yeah, at least he's not last because Nicolo Serra is out, but he's last out the finishers at the moment. Louis has gained quite a few places in 7th at the moment. Ricky's in 8th. Santieri, somehow after spinning, is in 9th place, so he can still get points out of all of this. Kryptonite in 10th because he pitted early. He probably should have waited an extra lap, but he didn't know that the safety car was going to happen, so a bit unlucky for him, because usually in a situation where the undercut is more powerful, that would have been the right decision, but the safety car didn't help him there. Bolan, that safety car came at the wrong time. It would have been the lead of this race if that was the case, but he's not. He's in 11th. Jack's 12th position. And we've got Elting, Addy, CC Brain, Andrea, who's finally on the right tyre, Kazizzle, who's got the 3-second penalty along with Alexis. Then we've got Blaze's AI as well. So those are your 19 runners. Still 19 runners, unbelievably as well. And we get to see the Aston Martin safety car, which is always nice. And I wonder if the safety car will be in this lap. No.
Well, it sometimes waits till the end of the straight.
Oh, there we go.
It's going now. And well, we're in a situation then where we're going to see a Ferrari versus a Mercedes for the race win here at Silverstone. Wonder if we've seen that one before.
Yes.
And we know how it went in real life in 2021, but we also know how it went in 2018. They have a good history of fights here, Ferrari and Mercedes, and the Williams might well get involved as well of legend, but Valentin will lead them to the finish line to start lap 18. And I'll tell you what, Baraka nearly into the back of him as Valentin puts his foot down, and we're back underway here at Silverstone. Well, no DRS for the first 3 laps, or for the first 2 laps, sorry. It'll be re-enabled on lap 20. But how quickly are Tom and Dino going to get dispatched by Devon here? Because he could see a P4 pretty easily up the road. Is anyone going to lose it at turn 1 with some slightly colder tyres? Looks like they're all making it through okay, because it is a deceptively difficult corner. As here comes Santry back at it again. He's trying to make some more moves, and he still can't quite get it done to free and hits Ricky a couple of times there. Still struggling to get up the field as Devon. Will he make his first move here on Dino? How hard is the Alpine going to be able to fight as they head through? Devon not quite able to get through, just has to sit back and hope that he can get another opportunity. As you say, Jess, Cop's not the best spot to go for a move, and I suppose he's going to have to wait a little bit as a result of that.
Yeah, remember what happened in 2021 when someone tried to go for a move in Cop's corner? That's probably why people are not as tempted to go for the move there. But you can take it more flat out with lower fuel modes now, because they'll be on less fuel compared to the start of the race. and they'll be able to be more aggressive in terms of their overtakes as well, so they could go for it, but again, not advised to. Devon, this is his first chance then, with the soft tyre and with plenty of ERS, to get the move into Stowe corner, which he does not. So Dino doing very, very well on those medium tyres. This is not the first time I've seen in this situation the medium runners been able to hold on to the soft runners. I remember watching an Imola race where there was a safety car towards the end and a few people decided to stay on the mediums. They managed to stay ahead of the soft runners, so we could see a similar situation from these guys, but looks like Devon is a little bit more comfortable now to try and get the move done, heading in towards turn 3 into the heavy braking zone. Then to the right hand side he goes, and we're seeing Dino trying to defend to the left.
Ooh,
and
nicely
Devon, yeah, Devon gets the move done nicely there, up to 5th place, and Tom was able to pull away there whilst these two were fighting. So but Devon is actually going to catch up again. He is. So Devon's up to 5th, Louis now up to 6th. The medium runners are starting to fall by the wayside now, and they probably regretted about not pitting. Santieri's hanging about with Ricky into Woodcote. Are they going to still keep it side by side? They do. Santieri gets up into 8th position. He could get past Dino in a second as well. So Santieri is having a very good comeback. But watch out for Baraka. 3 tenths behind Valentine. This could be make or break for him. We haven't seen many times in F2 where someone has converted a pole to a win. Can we see Baraka do it today? He's got the chance to do it. No DRS yet. DRS on the next lap. So I think he would have done it if there was DRS, I reckon. But no move this time by. But Devon has got past the last medium runner up into 4th place. And he sets his sights on Legend and could be on for his first podium of the season.
Only problem is he did use a lot of ERS getting all that done. He's down to 40%. Same, actually Legends are even a bit lower. Oh, well, it's sort of similar actually, but still, he could have used a little less trying to get past, and I wonder if that might cost him. Bolin, unfortunately, still stuck in 11th, and we know how quick he was in the early stages of the race, but he's now facing the problem that Santry's facing, as he's trying to make moves, but not able to get through, and a big hit onto the side, actually, of Kryptonite's Red Bull. No, Santry, will he be able to get through? He's got DRS, but again, so does Dino, but with the extra good bit of soft, surely on the inside he'll get through, but there is more contact. Dino is holding on, and we're seeing that these medium tyres, they don't tend to degrade obviously, but you would still expect that the new sauce would be quick enough, but seemingly not at the moment, because Santry isn't able to make it work, and he's got quite the trail behind him. Dino, oh, he's going to lose it, wow, oh, and Santry has hit him in sympathy. Nothing he can really do there. It was such a good save from Dino. I suppose Santry had no idea where that was going to end up, and unfortunately he's the one who ends up in the barriers, but he is still going at the very least. Baraka is just sitting on the back of Valentine's rear when he's not really looking at going through. Is he saving it for a last lap lunge, as we see a lot of guys going through Dino now? Kryptonite, oh, he's nearly into Dino, a bit like how Santry was. Ricky's up in 7th, and we see Bolin up into 9th place now. Dino nearly falling out of the points now. He's got caught on the sausage curb as well, out of the final corner. As we said, Tom's doing a much better job of keeping this position right now. He's quite happy that Dino's doing all the heavy lifting for him right now, because it's meaning that he's already only got 1 car in his DRS. And if the fighting keeps on going the way it is at the minute, it might end up staying that way, as Assy has gone off in 3. Who's he had contact with perhaps, but he's still going, as is the fighting for the lead. They're just sitting in the DRS zone, and right now they're all saving ERS. Devon isn't able to catch, unfortunately for him at the minute, so he's sort of in no man's land, but this fighting is absolutely brilliant.
I have to say, good job from everybody so far to keep it steady, and some good saves as well, as we're seeing Louis and Louis getting the move into Cop's corner. I said you can't make a move there. Well, Louis saying, hang on, Jess, you can get a move done there quite nice. And I just caught the middle of that, but Louis, bravo, that was textbook stuff. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, that's how you make a move into Cop's corner.
Indeed, that was very good stuff from Louis. He obviously does have a penalty, so he's got to try and deal with that, and getting ahead of the medium driver might help in that scenario, because if Tom fights anywhere near as hard as Dino was fighting, it will help Louis to pull away who's now on the back, of course, of Devon, who is struggling a little bit for the pace compared to the leaders at the very least. Doesn't mean he's slow, just means those three ahead obviously have their DRS, which is going to be helping them along. But Louis will also have DRS and Devon, so that's why I'm sort of suspecting he might be able to get him in the next couple of corners. Tom is sticking, though, right to the back of these two, isn't he? So he's very much looking forward to having some DRS of his own, as Bolin and Kryptonite go side by side. And that'll be tight onto the DRS zone. Who has it? I think they both actually have it, don't they? Just a bite for Kryptonite. Nearly pulls across. That could have been an incident. But here comes Bolin on the inside. Will he crowd his rival out? Yes, he will. And he will get himself up into P8. Surely he'll have the better exit as well. And Kryptonite has to just fall back into P9. At the front, Baraka is still just holding position. And he's waiting for his moment, because I'm guessing he'll maybe try at lap 25 or 6. I mean, you don't really want to go for it much before then, unless you're under big pressure from Legend behind, who might fancy trying to shake it up and go for a move earlier. Because right now, if he wants to win the race, he's going to be the one making the first moves, I guess, because you can see how good Baraka is. If he wanted to get through, he would have done. Just like Louis did. So that, you know, it's when you're in the position to pass, you can do it, but it's just about picking the right moment, and Louis will try and catch up on those leading drivers now. And Tom, fair play, still all over this, as Jax and Dino side by side. Dino now finally falls out of the points, and Jax, who got unlucky with a safety car timing, he is back into the points and trying to get himself a little bit higher as well, and CC Brain as well gets through. And Dino, unfortunately, it's all falling apart for him now.
Yes, and it hasn't fallen apart for Tom as much as well, which it just goes to show Tom's pace on the mediums is pretty decent as well compared to the guys on the soft compound tyres. Elton gets past Dino, so that's another place down for him as well. I have to say, driver of this part of the race so far has got to be Louis, as we've seen Berlin getting past Ricky in the two Brooklands and Luffield. But yeah, Louis has been the star of this stint so far, making so many impossible moves and taking so many risks so far. Shame about the penalty, because he could have been favourite to take a podium here today, but...
Look at this, Jess, into cops again. Are we going to do this again?
Oh,
and that's the round. There we go. Finally, Dino's race has come to an end, and it's
he's
another
retired.
one through cops. Hits L-Tink on the inside, and it's going to
Safety
give
car.
us no DRS for the end of the race then. So that is going to give a very different element to this top three fight, because suddenly they're going to be facing a 1 or 2 lap shootout here. Probably knowing how the game works, it'll be a 2-lap shootout, but it does mean no DRS. And well, Dino showing the risks of going for moves in cops when it's a little bit tight. And Eltink, I don't really think he did much wrong there. I think it was just a tap in the middle of the corner, and that's what happens sometimes. And he does pit though, so did he get any damage from it, or does he fancy? Well, what's he doing actually? Because he's now got a penalty as well, so any advantage he was trying to get out of that pit stop, he's not really going to, because he would have lost maybe 1 or 2 spots. So the idea would be to be on new sauce at the end, but now with a penalty, he'll be kicking himself. But it does mean this race is going to have a very, very interesting ending. I'm very much looking forward to this. Everyone's going to have full tanks at ERS as well. But as I saw with Devon, that tank can be pretty much gone in 1 lap. So you got to still be smart with it. Valentine can't just floor it and go all of his ERS down and then have nothing for the last lap. So it's still going to be a strategic way of managing this.
Yes, it is as well. And we got to watch out as well on this game. The game, if the safety car comes in later, then you only, well, basically the game will only allow you to do 2 green flag running towards the end of the race. And obviously it can't come out at the end of lap 25. So it has to come in at the end of lap 24. So basically, anyone that has not caught up to the safety car, the game is just like tough. You gotta have to deal with it. So drivers have no choice. The safety car, I'm almost certain, will be coming in this lap, because that's the game's mechanics for these sort of things. You must have at least 2 green flag laps running after a safety car. That's it, because otherwise there's no point. And luckily, the game has not implemented where the race ends under safety car. So surely we're going to see the safety cars in this lap, or yeah, that's it. The safety car is in this lap. So quite a short safety car, but there we go. And that was basically, the latest that we could ever have a safety car there.
Yeah, that was leaving it right to the last minute just to close the pack up one more time, and you'll see that Sancho and Nazi will just about get there. And well, how is this going to play out? Will Baraka go for a move early now, knowing that there'll be no DRS, and it's basically all about getting yourself into the lead of the race as soon as possible? He's not on it for the restart. Again, Valentin gets himself away that little bit early, and it's caught Baraka off guard. Andrea is falling down and there's already fighting going on. I wonder what actually has happened there. Is it a Blaze? Is maybe his AI distracting some people? Because Jax is spun off now as well. So whatever was going on there has caught a few people by surprise. And, well, the restart has been relatively clean for the rest of them. Bolin is still trying to get himself back up the grid. And he's had a lovely move on the inside. A little bit of contact, you could say. But he is, well... It's been returned to him by Tom, so a very wheel-bindy fight, but still nice and aggressive. You like to see it. As long as they don't end up in the wall, it's relatively okay to be doing this. As we see Bolin, will he go on the outside? It's at this point that the soft tires are starting to lose their sort of natural benefit, as they're starting to do it as well, so we really had to get that done. But Tom is not letting him get away, as they make a contact for must be the 5th or 6th time in this lap. But Bolin is back ahead. Devon is holding to the back of Louis, he's holding to the back of Legend, Baraka and Valentin. So that top 5 all sitting in formation. Is there going to be any chance of a move on the final lap for any of them? Because they're really going to have to get their heads down, as Valentin is keeping a decent gap to Baraka. So he should be, as it stands right now, he should be looking good for the win. But it's one lockup, one mistake, one wide moment could cost you, as Ricky now tries to get by Tom as well into Stowe. And there's going to be more contact with Tom on this lap. And he goes off the track as well. Gotta be careful with the warnings in the late stages as he dives at the inside of the Vale chicane. And well, he has Ricky off the road now. And Ricky's been hit by Kryptonite. Just about keeps it going. And then you can see Elting going through as well. Ricky under a lot of pressure on these guys now as Valentin has started the last lap. He's now nearly a second clear. So it has to be said is looking good for Valentin here as Kryptonite and Ricky and Eltink and Tom and CC Brain are all going to be fighting over the last couple of points positions. At the front, they're all keeping it relatively well behaved in comparison to this. Look at all this side by side stuff. No DRS and nearly an accident for Ricky again as he does fall outside the points. And CC Brain, of course, fighting with Eltink. We're seeing these two the whole race going for it, and they're still doing it in the fight for P9 on the final lap. Great to see, and look at Eltink's exit. Is he going to go from even to cops? We saw how it went last time he did it, but he is on the inside.
Oh,
and these two are giving us a superb race at the end of the British Grand Prix. The stars of their race in terms of a racing point of view, and they're just about still in it. Is Devon going to try and move on Louis? He's the closest one to making a move, but he hasn't really got an incentive to, really, because Louis got the penalty. I think all that top 3 is going to stay well behaved, and it does mean that after all the potential that we've seen from this guy in the last season, that we've always thought, oh, won't he just keep it on track? He has done it this week, and for the second time this season, he is going to cross line P1, but with no penalties this time, which means Valentin is a PSGL F2 winner. Well done to him. Baraka's second, Legend third, Devon fourth, Bolin fifth. Nice recovery after losing out on that first safety car. Louis does end up sixth, Tom seventh, Kryptonite, CC Brain and Andrea is the last point scorer. So after his mistake in the pits, the safety car helped him out a little bit and he got himself back into the points. So good to see for him as well.
Yeah, so now with Valentin winning the race, the gap has closed between Baraka and Valentin by 2 points, because Valentin got a P3 last week and Baraka got a P2 last week. So Baraka still leads the championship, but Valentin has closed the gap a little bit as well. Legend has got his first points of the season, and it's great to see a lot more people getting their first points of the season as well. Devon, who DNF'd last week, also got his first point of the season in P4. He almost got a podium, but he was just not quite there. He wasn't able to get the moves, unfortunately. But some stellar racing, and I have to say, battles of the stream have to go to Eltink all the way through. CC Brain was there as well, but I have to say Eltink was unlucky at times, but Eltink definitely put on the show there.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two really did put a show on. It's good to see CC Brain and Eltink right to the last lap. And good fighting throughout the field as well. But that is the race. Valentin did get the fastest lap as well. So that means the gap between Baraka and Valentin is a single point. when we go to Monaco next week. But the order at the end of the race: Valentine, Baraka, Legion, Devin, Bolin, Louis, Tom, Kryptonite, CC, Brain and Andrea. Then outside the top 10, Ricky, Santry, Jax, Azzy, Kazizzle, Alexis, Eltink, and Blaze. And then we have the 2 retirements of Dino and Nicolo. And that is the British Grand Prix.
Yeah, only 2 retirements though, definitely less than last season, so fair play to all the drivers as well. I'm just seeing who else got their first point of the season. Tom got his first point of the season today, so good job on him as well. But apart from those 3 obvious candidates, everybody else got points last week as well. Still a few people yet to get points on the board here at PSGL this season, but they still got Monaco to do. They still got a lot of races ahead of them to do so. But like we said earlier, and the next week is Monaco, a track where we don't go too often in PSGL, but we kind of have to because we have to visit as many tracks on the game cycle as we can. Hard to overtake really, so qualifying is going to be even more crucial. So I think we're going to see battle of the qualifying titans really come into play. Baraka's got pole this season, so has Valentine, but surely the one who gets pole is going to have a huge advantage going into the race, and someone starting P11 as well could have a huge advantage too. But yeah, they've got to get practicing on their 1 lap pace as well as their race pace next week.
Yeah, they've got to seriously be practicing for it, because that'll be such a challenge next week. I'm glad I'm not racing now. That's all I'll say for it.
Yeah, same, because Monaco on this game can, for me, as a racetrack, could go in the bin, but I kind of like to commentate on it, so it's a lot of fun. So we'll wait to see if the drivers would like to come in for any podium interviews. It's obviously not mandatory, but we would like to see their drivers' thoughts heading into the end of this race and into next week as well. So, but who has been your driver of the day? There's loads of driver of the days, but Valentine finally gets his first win and his second point scoring in a row. He had trouble scoring points last season and even finishing, but this time he's got 2 podiums in a row and managed to get a win on top of it. This guy has definitely learned from his mistakes last season, I have to say.
Yeah, I'd say Valentine is driver of the day. I think I'd give a shout out to Bolin though as well, because he was one of the leading drivers who got really unlucky with a safety car, but he still recovered himself to 5th. But I think just for his general race pace, we said it straight at the start when he got past Jax, who was on the softs while he was on mediums, and then how he effortlessly was able to get into the lead once the soft drivers were in the pits. Valentine, he drove pretty much the perfect race there today, so you can't really look past him, I suppose.
And he learnt from his penalty mistakes from last week as well, so we didn't jinx in there, which is great news. So we'll give it a few more minutes, of course. A few other stand-up moments as well. Santieri did not score as many points this week, so he's going to drop down as well. Kazizzle as well could be the one that drops quite a bit in this championship as well, and there's quite a few that can gain for people's mistakes. Obviously, we've seen a few retirements as well. That doesn't help anything as well. I think Tom will jump to around about, I would say, 11th or 12th in a championship as well, because still some people yet to score. Doesn't look like anyone's gonna join us, I don't think. No one's gonna join us, unfortunately, so we're gonna say goodbye, and if someone does join us while we do it, then we will let them in anyway. So thank you guys so much for watching this stream. We've got F1 on at the moment. They're heading towards the end of their qualifying session, so if you want to see some more British Grand Prix action, make sure you go and check them out. Actually, they're going to start their race. I forgot that we started late due to some lobby glitches, so the race has pretty much started. And there's also F5, F9 and F8 going on at the moment, so make sure you check those out. And on Wednesday, PC will head to Monaco for round number 3. So we will wrap things up here. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, I must say that was a fantastic race. I'm looking forward to seeing which one comes out in the top next week, because I think Santre was so unlucky this week. I wonder if we'll see some sort of comeback from him, because that was a frustrating one. Monaco, who's it going to suit? Perhaps Valentine with his really good qualifying pace might be one to watch, but really, it's so hard to tell what's going to happen. It's worth watching though. Definitely be here for it.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to leave you guys to it. Enjoy the F1 stream, and we will see you next week, same time, 7 o'clock UK time, for the Monaco Grand Prix. Should be an absolute PSGL classic, so I hope you're there for it. See you soon, and goodbye.